I think for a lot of us Nintendo fans, especially those in North America, we're all kind of just stuck sitting here twiddling our thumbs, waiting for something to happen in regards to pre-orders. They were supposed to go up on April 9th, a week after the Switch 2 reveal showcase, and here we are on April 15th, and Nintendo hasn't said anything. They delayed the pre-orders due to the economic climate right now, the tariffs that Trump put into place. However, we still have no concrete information. Well, according to a very reliable insider, we might have a couple of key dates to look forward to when it comes to pre-ordering this console in the US, but also in Canada. We also have another rumor suggesting that GameStop will have ample supply of the console available. So that's what we're talking about today. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 coverage, discussion, theory, speculation, reviews, all that fun stuff, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. I hope your day is going well, and hopefully this will be a bright spot, especially if you are waiting for those pre-orders like I have been. Every day I wake up, I check Nintendo of America, or I check all the different accounts on Twitter that I normally check, and there's just no information. Well, we have Bilbo-kun over on Twitter here today talking about some potential dates that he's heard. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Bilbo-kun, this person, we don't know exactly what his source is. He seems to have some back-end access to a lot of different retailers. He's always leaking PS Plus games as well, but notably in the Nintendo community, this guy leaks bundles all the time. Like the Mario Wonder bundle that we got in March, he completely leaked that. A bunch of the holiday bundles they had last year, as well as their pricing. Bilbo-kun has some sort of back-end source for when you can expect release dates for products, but also products in their entirety. Even that recent The Last of Us Complete 2-pack, Bilbo-kun was the one that leaked it. And we have a lot of information from him on when we can expect pre-orders. First up, if you are in Canada, because the pre-orders also got delayed there, Bilbo-kun tweeted out, upcoming release, from what I can see through some Canadian retailers, Nintendo Switch 2 console and bundle pre-orders should start from April 23rd, 2025 in Canada. This is the Canadian dates for pre-orders. Dates subject to change. Can't confirm if it's the same for US. I'll keep you updated if it changes. Now, it's worth noting that with these dates, obviously everything is moving very quickly. It is possible that Nintendo will change this date before it happens, but as of right now, on April 15th, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, Canadian pre-orders should be going live on April 23rd. Bilbo-kun is an account I have followed for a very long time, and I definitely trust his research and his data scraping from websites on the matter. So if you are in Canada, April 23rd, that's the date you should probably be locking in for pre-orders. That is almost exactly 1 week from now. That is the 23rd on a Tuesday, which definitely has me wondering if they will announce them far in advance, and this would apply to US as well. But originally the plan was April 2nd, Nintendo Direct, April 9th pre-orders, a full week of prep time for fans, but also for retailers to kind of get their systems ready and just have their employees trained for the onslaught of Nintendo fans going to GameStop. I wonder if they will give us that much notice again, or if it will be a shorter notice thing. If this is true, if April 23rd is going to stick as the pre-order date in Canada, I would not be surprised if we hear something officially from Nintendo tomorrow morning. Hopefully. Maybe I'm being too optimistic there. Thankfully, though, Bilbo-kun did also have some information on pre-order dates here in the US. Now, this is a little less concrete. Even he seems a little less sure, seems a little bit more up in the air here, which is why I say, while we can look at these rumors, and I definitely trust Bilbo-kun, things are changing every day. I mean, they delayed those Canadian pre-orders like what? I think it was less than 24 hours before they were supposed to go live. So even if right now internally the plan is April 23rd for Canada, it's possible they change it last minute again, depending on the situation and what they decide to do. But we have another tweet from Bilbo-kun here saying, USA, through some US retailers, I found conflicting data for pre-order start dates of Nintendo Switch 2 hardware. For Nintendo Switch 2 consoles, April 21st or April 30th, depending on the retailer. So this means that, yeah, like I was saying, Bilbo-kun is like scraping the back ends of these retailers. Maybe he has sources that works for a Best Buy, a GameStop, a Walmart, a Target, whatever. It sounds like some stores are internally saying April 21st and some are saying April 30th. But then for accessories like Switch 2 Pro Controller, April 30th is the date that's popping up. And at the very least, we know that Target internally is showing April 30th. This is a post from yesterday from Wario64 where he said, it might be nothing like a placeholder date, but Target has their Nintendo Switch 2 console pre-orders on the wish list backend as going up on April 30th. April 30th is the last day of the month though, so it could mean nothing or is a placeholder, just sharing what was discovered. And yeah, on the back end, I mean, people are literally going into the code of these websites to find this information out, but April 30th is listed listed. Now, commonly a placeholder date would be at the end of the month. April 30th is the end of the month. However, it is also a Wednesday, and Switch 2 pre-orders in the US were originally supposed to go up on a Wednesday. So I think April 30th is definitely a possibility here. My thing is, I mean, honestly, Nintendo can do whatever they want, but if they were originally going to go up on a Wednesday, I kind of get the impression they will also do that again. Maybe that doesn't check out. Maybe they just wanted it to be exactly 1 week after the Nintendo Direct back then. But I still feel like when they decide to do it, we're still going to be going to GameStop and Best Buy or whatever on a Wednesday. That's just kind of a gut feeling. But if this is true, April 30th is a date to look forward to. Or it could be April 21st, like Bilbo Kuhn said, depending on retailer here. I don't think it will actually be split dates between different retailers. I think this is just a case of some websites not having the most up-to-date information. So whether or not it's April 21st or April 30th, I think it will be one of these days. One of these days is what we are looking at for Switch 2 pre-orders. And he also mentioned that, yeah, accessories will go up on the 30th. If the console is listed as the 30th in some retailers, but then also the accessories are listed as April 30th, I lean towards this one being true. That feels like a long time from when we were supposed to be pre-ordering this thing. But of course, you know, Nintendo has to weigh all their options and figure everything out. It's a rough climate right now. So April 30th, I think, is very likely. And I wouldn't really expect it any sooner than that. Like, I'm not expecting pre-orders to drop this Friday or anything. I think next week, Monday, April 21st at the earliest. And then from there, I don't think it'll go past April 30th, though. I would just be kind of surprised. They didn't delay the console in the US. It's still coming out June 5th. If we get like halfway through May or something and pre-orders still haven't happened, that would just be really shocking. So April 21st through the 30th, but really those two specific dates, I think that's what we're looking at for pre-orders here in the US. And for me, it really just comes down to, well, in that case, when are they actually going to announce these things? It's possible they give us that full week's notice again. You know, they want to give the fans enough time to prep and get their lawn chairs ready to line up at GameStop, but also they want to make sure that the retailers are ready and prepared and informed on what's going on in advance. We've seen console pre-orders go up with no notice before. I remember the PS5. I literally like left work mid-shift and went to the GameStop that was near where I was working at the time, and I had called before, and the lady was like, no, there's no pre-orders. 30 minutes later, there were pre-orders. So I hope it's not like that. I hope they don't just go up randomly without any notice. Maybe it'll be like a 24 hours notice kind of thing. Definitely keep an eye out for Nintendo social media, but also accounts like Bilbo Kuhn and Wario64 for the most up-to-date news on this. But I think if you are really worried about securing a pre-order, these are the two dates, at least in the US, that you should be looking at. And then, of course, for Canada, it's April 23rd. I have seen some people throw this idea around, and I'm not fully against it, to be honest, but we're getting that Mario Kart World Direct on Thursday. Maybe not part of the Direct literally, but maybe after the Direct they say, hey, pre-orders are going up on this date, and if there are any pricing changes that need to happen at that point, they could announce them there. I haven't made a video on the whole pre-order session up to this point, or the pricing situation really, aside from my negativity video, but I don't think they're going to raise the price of the console. Maybe they will. We just saw PlayStation raise the price of the PS5 Digital Edition and a bunch of other territories like Europe and Australia, I believe, and New Zealand. I don't think that they'll raise the price of the Switch 2 in America. What I think is likelier is that they just reallocate their launch stock, right? Maybe that means taking it away from the US. Maybe that means putting more into the US because Trump put a 90-day pause on the tariffs. So maybe Nintendo's going to look at their full, stock of units they have in a warehouse somewhere, and they're like, well, if there's a 90-day pause on the tariffs, let's get as much as we can into the US as possible, which would, of course, hurt other territories and their available stock on release day. We'll have to wait and see. It's obviously a very crazy pre-order situation here for this console that I wasn't really expecting. I was at the Nintendo New York store in New York, of course, getting ready to go hands-on with the Switch 2 when we were checking our phones, and I saw the news come out that they delayed pre-orders and that the price might go up. And I mean, that was like crazy. I was like literally walking around New York ready to play this thing, and it felt like all hell was breaking loose. Like, oh my God, they're going to raise the price of this console up to $600, $700. I don't think that's going to happen. As we're seeing with PlayStation, they're actually raising the price in other territories, and at least as of this point, they have not raised the price in America. So maybe Nintendo would do something similar where PlayStation is, it's obviously unfortunate, but they're kind of seemingly putting that cost onto other territories that aren't necessarily having the issues, because US is the biggest market for Nintendo, for PlayStation, for Xbox, of course. So they don't want to raise the price here. I think that, bottom line, that is not going to happen. Maybe they kind of change the bundle around. Maybe they change their tune on the welcome tour thing and make that free. But, I don't think we're going to see the Switch 2 go from $450 to $650 or, whatever, or even, $450 to $500, 500 for the bundle up to 550. I think it's going to stay the same. They just might kind of reallocate their units. But speaking of available units on launch day, there was also this post from Nintendeal, who is more of a dubious source, I would say, but I know he has had some accurate information in the past, especially in regards to pre-orders and stuff like that. Nintendeal tweeted out here, according to some GameStop sources, most GameStop stores are expecting around 100 Switch 2 consoles available at launch, but games and accessories will be extremely limited. Now, what's funny about that 100 number is I saw a lot of people and other Nintendo outlets running with that, like, there will be less than 100 units per store. This is bad news. That's not enough. That would make it like one of the biggest launches of a console of all time. I wasn't really around for the actual launch of like the PS2. Maybe that was technically bigger or something. But I know when I pre-ordered the Switch back in 2017, they had nowhere near 100 available. Same thing with like 3DS and Wii U, obviously. But even, PS5 and Series X, now that was during COVID. But 100 consoles per store, while I think it would still sell out, I think, people are, chomping at the bit to get this thing. 100 is way more than we've seen in the past, so that is actually very, very good news. Frankly, what I am more worried about, and this is what I've said in videos in the past, but Nintendeal also highlights in their tweet here, games and accessories will be extremely limited according to their sources. That is what I'm more worried about. I know not everybody wants to get the accessories. They don't want to get the Pro Controller or the extra set of Joy-Con, but I really want to get a Pro Controller. I love the extra buttons they have on the back. That was hard to get for the Switch 1, I remember. I couldn't get a Switch Pro Controller at launch, even though I waited in line to pre-order at GameStop for like 6 hours. I was still too far back to get a Pro Controller. I really want to get one of those, even though it's not really a necessity. You can use your Switch 1 Pro Controller. I want those new buttons. I want to have that new controller with the new console. But also the games. They've already put up a lot of pre-orders for some third-party games like Rune Factory. I think Split Fiction just went up today. There's a few others that you can do. A lot that are coming out later, like the Daemon X Machina game, which I'm also very excited for, as well as the Story of Seasons game coming out in August and in September. I don't think it'll be hard to get a game like Mario Kart World on a release day, or even the Zelda 4K remasters if you're going for the physical option there. But something like Bravely Default or a random game like, I don't know, like Civ 7 or Hogwarts Legacy or just some random stuff, I feel like there's going to be extremely limited quantities depending on the game, depending on the publisher. A game like Rune Factory, which is up for pre-order, I already pre-ordered that because I do want to try out the new Rune Factory game. Very niche game. I can't imagine there being just a plentiful amount of Switch 2 versions specifically of that game on launch day. So I would say I'm confident I'll get a console pre-order in. I'm more worried about the accessories and especially the games as we are moving more towards an all-digital future. I know it's been like that for a while at GameStop, especially where if you don't pre-order a game, it's already kind of hard to get. I remember EMEO, Famicom Defensive Club, when that came out last year, it was hard to find, especially at GameStop, because they only had enough for pre-orders. So I know a lot of people say don't pre-order games, but if there is anything specific you want on launch day for this console, I would recommend pre-ordering it just to be safe. It's a crazy time. I know we were all, even before the Direct, we were all worried like, oh, are we going to be able to get a pre-order in? And things have just gotten worse and worse. Luckily, if you aren't in North America, a lot of other territories already put up their pre-orders. I know Japan has their lottery system. I have a friend who lives there who already got his locked in. I have friends in the UK and in Europe who locked their pre-orders in. It's really just coming down to North America, which ultimately is Nintendo's biggest market. So crazy times trying to pre-order this dang Nintendo Switch 2. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you believe this information from Bill Coon and Nintendeal? Do you think it will actually happen on the dates we discussed? Or do you have some other theory on when pre-orders will go up for the console? Out of everything we discussed, April 23rd for Canada, I'm confident in that. Bill Coon's confident in it. I'm gonna trust him on that. For the US, I think I want it to be the 21st. I want to get this over with. It's like a monkey on my back. I'm just trying to like get this over with so I can, live my life. I lean towards the 30th being true just because the accessories he also said were listed for that date, but we will have to wait and see. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, coverage, all that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and you can click on one of these two videos to listen to me ramble even more about Nintendo stuff. Until next time, folks, peace.